Hi, my name is Molly, and I just turned 32. I work in the IT field and earn a steady income by working remotely from home. My job is full-time, 5 days a week, and my monthly salary is about $700. Right now, I'm fairly happy with my life and income, but I work hard because I have a big dream motivating me. My biggest goal is to own my dream house, a newly built home. Growing up, I lived in an old countryside house that was falling apart, and it made me feel self-conscious for a long time. That's why I've always dreamed of living in a modern home that I could design myself. A big turning point in this journey was meeting Ethan, an amazing person introduced to me by a friend. I've always imagined living in a single-family home with a garden, and Ethan shared that dream with me. It was such a relief to find someone who truly understood my vision. After a short time dating, Ethan and I got engaged within 6 months. We combined our savings, managed to secure a down payment for our dream home, and began the exciting but challenging process of building it. From choosing the right builder and designing the house, to applying for a loan and watching the construction take shape, the journey was both tough and rewarding. At last, we achieved our dream and moved into the newly built house we had worked so hard for. It was a place filled with our hopes and memories, and every day felt joyful. But, unfortunately, that happiness didn't last long, as a new problem surfaced. The issue was that our house was built near Ethan's parents' home, and they started visiting us frequently without any notice. One day, while I was enjoying my coffee break during work, the doorbell rang. When I checked the intercom, it was Ethan's parents. "Hello, Molly. We were in the neighborhood and thought we'd stop by. Your new house is lovely. The fresh air and new house smell are wonderful." To my surprise, they weren't alone. Standing behind them were 6 children, ranging from a 3-year-old toddler to a 9-year-old elementary student for boys and girls. I was shocked when they all walked into our house. "These are the kids of our eldest and second daughters," Ethan's parents explained. "We've been taking care of them, but something urgent came up, and we can't watch them anymore. Molly, I know it's a lot to ask, but could you take care of them for a bit? Maybe handle lunch and bath time too?" I was stunned. This was completely unexpected. I had unfinished work, limited groceries, and was preparing for an important afternoon meeting. The request felt overwhelming, but I quickly rescheduled my tasks, took a deep breath, and asked Ethan's parents if they could at least help with food or snacks. They refused, saying, "We're exhausted from running around all day." In the end, I had to pay for groceries with my own money and handle everything: cooking, cleaning, and managing the kids. After dinner, Ethan's parents and the children left as suddenly as they had arrived. When Ethan came home, I told him about the day's events and expressed my frustration. It's unimaginable for so many people to come over without warning. I couldn't get my work done, and now I'm completely drained. Ethan tried to calm me down. "It's not a big deal. It's just a minor incident. You helped my parents and my sister's kids. Isn't that what matters? Your work turned out okay, and we can clean the house together." While I wanted to be supportive as a family member, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by how much this unexpected situation disrupted my day. I always try my best to support my family, but I can't always adjust my plans at a moment's notice. There are limits to what I can and cannot do, especially when it comes to work and daily responsibilities. Handling sudden requests is hard, and it would really help if I could get some notice in advance. Ethan's response, however, didn't comfort me. "Things like this might happen again," he said. "Maybe we should stock up on more snacks and drinks just in case." That wasn't the support I was hoping for. Deep down, I wanted Ethan to understand how I felt and to talk to his parents about letting us know ahead of time, but he didn't seem to take my concern seriously, and I felt like he was growing distant. 2 weeks later, the doorbell rang again, and there they were, Ethan's parents, with our 6 grandchildren. "Thanks for your hard work, Molly," they said. "We'd like to drop by again. Both of our daughters have plans today, so could you help with the kids' bath and dinner like last time?" I couldn't believe it. Once again, I had to drop my work and rearrange my plans. My frustration was building. Didn't they understand how busy I was? I had tasks to complete, and now I was falling behind, something I had worked so hard to avoid. The kids were running wild, bouncing around from the living room to the kitchen and bedrooms, turning my house into a playground. When I tried to calm them down by raising my voice, they ran to their grandmother, complaining, "Auntie Molly is mean. She won't play with this." Instead of backing me up, my mother-in-law scolded me. "Molly, you shouldn't get so angry. They're just kids being kids. An adult should stay composed. Maybe this is why you and Ethan haven't started a family yet. Your attitude is too narrow-minded." Her words hit me hard and felt completely unfair. I was fuming inside, but I tried to stay calm on the outside. By the end of the day, my house was a disaster. All the time I had spent cleaning and organizing earlier was wasted. Looking around at the mess, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. What happened here? Can someone help clean this up? I thought to myself, exhausted and upset. Ethan looked tired, but so was I. His parents and their 6 grandchildren had just left. Their cheerful faces a stark contrast to how drained I felt. The kitchen was a mess, and dinner hadn't even been started. "Can't you be a bit more attentive?" Ethan asked. "We're married. I think you could at least handle that much." His words stung. "Just because we're married, you think you can't demand anything from me?" I snapped. "I didn't marry you to be a housekeeper or a babysitter for your family." "Don't get mad," he replied calmly. "No need to raise your voice. We don't even have kids yet, and I'm contributing to the family. It'd be nice if you showed some appreciation." "Appreciation?" I shot back. "They rely on us, but why does everything fall on me? Your parents don't help, and I'm juggling work, household chores, and now babysitting. I'm exhausted, and your attitude isn't helping." Ethan shrugged, his tone dismissive. "Isn't this what married women typically do? I'd appreciate it if you just cooperated without complaining." His words cut deep, and his cold, detached demeanor made it clear he didn't want to continue the conversation. Without even looking at the mess around us, he went straight to his room, leaving me standing there, stunned and hurt. I had never seen him act so indifferent before. I wished, desperately, that he could understand just a fraction of the burden I was carrying. But as the days passed, I felt myself growing more distant from him. What started as a small feeling slowly grew stronger, creating a space between us that I couldn't ignore. That evening, after dinner, Ethan took a bath and went to his room without saying another word to me. The silence hung heavy, and for the first time, I wondered if he truly saw Manet as a partner, but as someone who mattered. Lately, nights like this were becoming more common. Even our bedtime routines no longer aligned, and the couple time we used to cherish felt like a thing of the past. Looking at mess the kids had left behind, I forced myself to start cleaning, even though I was completely exhausted. As I picked up the scattered toys and tidied the rooms, tears began to fall. This wasn't what I imagined. When Ethan and I got married, a messy home, filled with chaos and a growing distance between us, wiping my tears, I thought about everything that had happened and realized something had to change. The stress from work and the tension at home were taking a toll on me, and I knew that if I didn't address it, our daily life could become unbearable. I began to suspect there was more to Ethan's recent behavior, and I thought about seeking professional advice, or even starting a deeper investigation to understand the root of the problem. As I calmed down, I resolved to take control of my life. I decided I wouldn't let this situation with my in-laws or their grandchildren continue unchecked. I would stand up for myself and prioritize my well-being. 3 weeks later, on a clear morning, the doorbell rang. I could hear the laughter of children outside, and the front of our house was filled with noise, almost like an amusement park. My in-laws had shown up again, unannounced, with their grandchildren. "Molly, can you hear me? It's hot out here. Can you make some tea? The kids are restless, so get ready for dinner and bath time too." This time, I'd approached the intercom with a different mindset. "Excuse me, but who are you?" I asked firmly. There was a brief silence, followed by laughter. "What are you talking about, Molly? Stop joking around. It's you as your in-laws. Open the door." "I'm sorry," I replied calmly, "but I can let people I don't know into my home." Their laughter turned to disbelief. You don't know us, that's not funny, we're your in-laws, what's going on? But I stood my ground. Ethan and I have discussed this many times, and I've made my decision. Ending our marriage was not an impulsive choice. It was something I deeply considered. I see no reason to continue our relationship, and I kindly asked that you respect this and refrain from visiting in the future. They began raising their voices, but I stayed calm and returned to my work. After about 30 minutes, their voices faded, and they eventually left. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace and control over my own life. The noise outside finally disappeared, and much later into the night, Ethan came home. He arrived far later than usual, and from his expression, it seemed he'd been at his parents' house, likely discussing what had happened. He looked at me with a grim face. Why did you do that? You knew my parents and the kids were coming over. Why didn't you let them in? And divorce? Are you serious about that? I met his gaze, steady and firm. I'm serious. I've been struggling with this for a long time, and I've finally realized that our lifestyles and values don't align. I can't let you or your family keep disrupting my daily life. Then, I calmly laid out the evidence I had gathered on the table. Photos I had collected through a private investigator. Ethan's face went pale as he looked at the pictures. They showed him walking downtown, hand in hand with a woman I didn't recognize. The two looked happy and relaxed in each other's company. In another photo, they were seen entering an upscale hotel, then leaving hours later with smiles on their faces. For weeks, I felt uneasy because of your late nights and strange behavior, I said. So, I hired a private investigator. These photos explain everything. Do you understand now why I'm considering divorce? Can you even begin to comprehend how I feel? Ethan's voice faltered. Let's calm down for a moment. Molly, can we sit down and talk this over seriously? I stared at him, my voice unwavering. You've done this, Ethan, and you don't even seem to feel sorry. What kind of discussion are you expecting now? I'm really sorry, he stammered, his face a mix of shock and fear. It was just a lapse in judgment. It didn't mean anything. That lapse in judgment deeply hurt me, I said, my voice steady. I had prepared for this moment. I placed a divorce document, already filled out, in front of him. Sign your name here, I said, sliding the paper across the table. If you refuse, I'm ready to take legal action immediately. Molly, please reconsider, Ethan pleaded, his tone desperate. But I stood my ground. There is nothing left to reconsider, I said firmly. After hesitating for a long moment, Ethan finally picked up the pen and, with trembling hands, filled out the required fields on the document. Is this what will make you happy? Ethan asked. If you're really set on this, I'll accept the divorce, but there's one thing I need to say. What is it? I asked. It's about this house. I'm attached to it and don't want to give it up. You don't need to worry, I replied calmly. I no longer have any desire to live here, but I do expect proper compensation from you and the woman you cheated with. Keep that in mind. With those words, I went back to my room and resumed packing my belongings. I had already started preparing for my departure. The next morning, I went to City Hall to finalize the divorce paperwork. The process went smoothly since it was a mutual decision. A few weeks later, I signed a lease for an affordable apartment near downtown and began my new life. With the alimony I received from Ethan and his affair partner, I never experienced financial difficulties. But one day, I got an unexpected message from Ethan. He sounded panicked and was asking for help. Molly, he said, I'm staying with my parents now, but we're struggling with money. I thought selling the family home would help, but my savings have almost run out because of living expenses and other payments. Can you help me out? I paused to think and quickly understood his situation. His parents were likely living on their pensions, and I knew the sale price of the house wasn't very high. On top of that, he had to pay me alimony, which must have drained his savings further. When we were married, my income had also supported our household, but now Ethan was on his own, covering the house loan, car payments, and daily expenses with just his salary must have been difficult. Have you thought about adjusting the house loan repayments? I asked. You could reduce the monthly payments and make up for it during bonus seasons. Have you talked to the bank about it? That might work, Ethan admitted, but I'm not sure how to approach the bank or decide on a repayment plan. I sighed. Ethan, you need to figure this out on your own. We're divorced now. You can't keep relying on me to solve your problems. It's time to stand on your own 2 feet. His continued dependence frustrated me, but I knew I had made the right decision to move on with my life. I unintentionally raised my voice, and perhaps sensing the change in my emotions, Ethan stopped contacting me after that. Life became quiet and peaceful. Then, exactly 1 year after our divorce, I received a surprising message from Ethan. He wanted to meet at a popular cafe in the city. On the day of our meeting, I went to the cafe and scanned the crowd for him. When I finally saw him, I was stunned. The healthy, confident Ethan I remembered was gone. He looked much thinner, and his face carried a tired, shattered expression. I had no choice but to sell the house in the end, he admitted. It was too hard to maintain on my own. I see, I said, but how much were you able to sell it for? He sighed. Not as much as I hoped. The price was lower than expected. My nieces and nephews would visit often and leave the house in a mess. That probably hurt the value. As he spoke, I pictured the house in its current state. The once beautiful home we had shared must have lost its charm due to constant wear and tear from the kids. Under those circumstances, renovations would have been costly, making it hard to get a good selling price. After I stopped allowing the kids to visit, my relationship with my sisters got worse, he continued. On top of that, my dad's health declined, and we eventually had to place him in a care facility. So, are you living with your mom now in a new place? I asked. Yes, he replied. I found a small, affordable apartment in a quiet part of the city. My mom and I moved there, but between the rent and living expenses, it's tough to manage on my salary alone. My mom even started working at a local cleaning company to help out. Hearing this surprised me. Ethan's mom, who had always been a homemaker, was now working in her late 60s. I could imagine how challenging it must be for her to adjust to a new life and take on such a physically demanding job at her age. Ethan's words painted a picture of a life much different from the one we had imagined when we first started building our dreams together. I learned that my former mother-in-law has started working at a cleaning job in the area. Many people would find it difficult to start something new at her age, but I really admired her courage. Then Ethan apologized to me. He asked if we could reconsider our relationship, promising that this time he would try to be a better husband. I'm sorry, Ethan, I said. My life is on a new path now. I can't think about getting back together. We've closed that chapter of our relationship. Please don't contact me anymore. I believe this will be our last conversation, and it's for the best. Goodbye. Afterward, I paid the bill and slowly walked out of the cafe. Although Ethan was looking down, I could feel his eyes following me as I left, but he didn't chase after me. Later, I received some surprising news from my family. A big company had made an offer to buy our family's land, including the old house on it. The land was in a prime location for their new factory project, so they really needed it. This news was both surprising and exciting. Even though our home had become old and run down over the years, it seemed like we could get a good price for it. With the money from the sale, I was planning to sit down with my parents and design a new house, one that would have everything we had only dreamed of before. Once the house is finished, I also hope to find the right partner to share my life with. I am determined to live each day to the fullest, keeping a positive outlook.